Cool.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:31 PM. Can I get a roll call, please?
Yeah, Max Dobson,
Here.
Sandra Plaistow,
Here.
Dennis Pepperman,
Here.
Lori Millette,
Here.
Robert Zukas,
Here.
Carol Britton,
Here.
Peter Bracci,
Here.
Bob Hamilton,
Here.
Julian Kiss.
Here.
I see Greg Colby is here.
Yep.
Is Mark with us?
He is connected.
Okay.
Disconnected? That's everybody.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, the screen's way off today.
What? You see,
Dean?
is he logged in? Did they?
Yeah, our screen is way misaligned. Still. Greg, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay. And is Mark there also? Mark, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. Pledge allegiance. Okay, we have the meeting minutes for December 15th and December 22nd. I don't know if everybody had a chance to review them before the meeting.
Did.
Yep, okay.
Yep. I'd like
Make
to
a
make,
motion to accept the December 15th, 2020 meeting minutes?
I'll second that.
Discussion? Okay, all those in favor of accepting the December 15th meeting minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay, motion carries.
I'll make a motion, we accept the December 22nd minutes.
Second?
Discussion? No? Okay, all those in favor of accepting the December 22nd meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. I don't see anybody here for budget-related public comment.
Can I make one change to one of them?
Okay, do you want to?
December 15th? Bottom of page, top of page 4. Fourth line down. It says, in the coming years, because the town will own the equipment, should be, the town does own the equipment. We own it now.
So we may see a maintenance cost in the coming years. So we already own it.
We already own it.
So change,
It's just that it's under warranty for 5 years.
so change will, take will out and just write owns.
It does own it, however makes it correct.
Okay, do you want to withdraw your motion?
Yeah, okay, I guess we gotta cancel the whole vote, start over.
Yeah,
Well, you could just motion for the correction.
Yeah, accept.
okay,
Well, I'll make a new motion to accept as amended.
okay.
I'll second it.
Discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion to accept the amended December 15 meeting minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay, motion carries 900. I'm gonna switch number 6 and number 7 on the agenda, just so we can get through as many budgets as physically possible. Did everybody have a chance to review the spreadsheet? I know it's super tiny when I printed it out, but I did email it to everybody. Yeah. So I guess I'd like to just go down the line.
Yeah, just want to make note that the printed out version wasn't the whole thing. It was missing a few columns. The part that said how much it cut and how much reduction it was, is intended to be, was on a column that is not on the printout. You
Which-
see in the lower right here, it says reduction from 2/20/20?
Right, I didn't
There was more
set-
to the right.
there isn't supposed to be anything, that was just a mistake that I didn't delete before I saved the spreadsheet.
Okay,
That's not, it's
but it was in the electronic copy.
with the actual number?
Yep,
Oh, okay.
just looked at it.
I must
Again.
have printed out a different copy than I sent. Okay, so I'd like to just go down the line. Is there a motion on the floor about the executive budget? Approving it for
Okay.
306?
Just a quick question before.
Yep,
I'm looking at the 2021 budget worksheet.
yep,
Nothing has changed from that, correct?
correct. Like, that's what the green means, it's the same as the sheet that we got.
All right.
So is there a motion on the floor?
Make a motion to approve the executive budget for $306,297.
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion? Bob?
I'd just like to focus on the November expense report, budget to actual. At that time, at the end of November, 19.9% of the executive budget was not spent, and we just had 1 month to go. Now, the average expenditure for a month for the first 11 months of the year was $22,737 a month. If we were to assume that that's going to be the same for December, that would bring that expenditure for executive to $272,848. Now, that's a surplus of over $39,000. And I think that it would be prudent, considering the fact that we have COVID facing us this year, perhaps even worse than last year, which we know is going to affect revenue. I'm recommending that we cut that by half, which would be $19,637. At least cut it by $19,000, the executive budget, because of the overage.
Okay. Do you have the actual, what the bottom line, the new bottom line would be for that department?
If we cut it by 19,000?
Yeah, I don't have a calculator in front of me.
Which line item?
We're just going by department budget. He's decreasing the department budget by 19,000. He proposes to do that.
Without taking it off a line item, and the whole thing doesn't add up.
I mean, if we pick apart that amount of money of overage, we'll be here forever.
Yeah, we're not going line by line.
We're not going line by line.
Just approving department
We
budget.
did that when we took budgets under consideration.
Okay, I understand what your intention is, but then who's gonna do it? Because it has to be done before it can be submitted. You can't have a spreadsheet in the budget that has a bottom line that is totally different than what it adds up to. Then who's gonna do it?
We go off of a bottom line budget.
I think
In
it
the
would
end,
depend if
in the end, but you still have to submit it as what you intend to spend on what, or else it's not really a
Dennis?
budget.
Dennis?
So I think it would depend if that motion passes, and then at that point, if that passes, we would have to subtract that amount from the bottom line,
Right.
and then
Right.
come up with that
So-
bottom line.
So which line item are we talking about? I thought he was talking about just subtracting from the bottom line.
Greg
It said
Colby.
executive.
Greg
budget.
Colby has something to say.
You're making assumptions about November numbers. I have current December numbers in front of me that show that we are down to less than $27,000 of the budget remaining, below 9%. And I will tell you that that surplus is directly related to COVID in the furloughing of employees that we do not anticipate that happening in 2021. So there will not be a gigantic budget surplus in that line, just for your edification.
Thank you.
Lori?
We already have a motion on the floor, so I think we
Right.
should call the
Is
question on
there
that.
is there a second?
Well, I think we having a discussion, right?
We're discussing it, so,
Well, to change it, but
right. So.
we already have a
Right,
motion.
we should vote on the motion of
To
whether,
accept or
to
not.
accept or not
To accept or not? Okay,
So the original motion was for the $306,297. That's what we're voting on. And did we have a second?
we do.
Sam?
I
Oh, I
thought,
made the
Oh, you
motion.
made the motion? I thought somebody seconded it.
did someone?
Oh, Julian did.
Julian
So
seconded.
we're voting on it as is.
As is.
Okay.
So all those in favor of accepting the executive budget of $306,297, say aye.
Aye.
Well, it's a roll call.
No, it's
one's
not,
doing it.
everybody's here.
Everybody's here.
Oh, everybody is here. You're true. Okay, thank you. I'll stand corrected.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed?
Opposed?
One opposed, abstained. So was it
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
810?
810.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, the next budget was the town clerk budget. And that also is one that stayed the same. So if there's a motion on the floor to approve that budget.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Discussion? It was a decrease from the 2020 town meeting approved budget of 130,81, so I just wanted that to be noted. Okay, no other discussion? All those in favor of accepting the town clerk budget of 107,453, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 900. The next one is elections, and that is the same as the town budget worksheet we got for $12,095, and it's also a decrease from last year. Is there a motion on the floor to make
Make
that?
a motion to accept the elections budget.
A second?
Okay.
Approve. I
Approve,
did
sorry.
say accept, didn't I? Approve.
All those, discussion on that?
I'll second it.
It was already seconded by Bob. Okay, so all those in favor of the elections budget for approving it for $12,095, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? All right, 900. The next one is for finance, and it increased this year by, it looks like a little $1,250. I kept it on the spreadsheet, the same as the 2020 town meeting approved, so if anybody is in favor of that, you can make a motion.
If I could read the fine print, I would. One, I'll
81.
make a motion to approve the finance budget for 181, I can't read it.
570.
182,825.
182.
182,825?
Yeah.
Well, that's what, are we, that's the
Oh, no, I'm sorry, 181,
575.
575. I gotta get stronger glasses.
So aren't we going by what the 2021 town manager and board of selectmen approved budget?
No, I made that whole column of possible budget committee recommendations, so I was hoping that there would be questions or discussions regarding what we could possibly decrease the budget to, and I kept things the same that had either gone down or were the same as 2020, and then all of the red that's on this spreadsheet is things that went up this year. And then yellow is things that stayed the same this year.
Did you get a second on that? It didn't sound.
Not yet. No,
I'll take
there's
a,
no
I'll second, all right.
So that's the column that I'm going off of right now.
You're going off the 182 or the 181?
181,575.
And that's the column that says possible budget committee recommendations.
Okay, so what line item is that being taken from?
We're just decreasing the department budget. We're making a motion to have the
Okay.
department budget be that amount. So it has to pass if we decide to approve that. So there's a motion on the floor. Bob seconded it. Any more discussion?
I'd like to discuss.
Yep.
At the end of November, the financial administration budget still had 26.6% to be spent. Only 73.38% had been spent. And again, if you average it out for a month, it's $35,642 a month. If you add it on to what we had spent through November, that would bring it to $427 of a $534,000 budget, which means that we have well over $100,000 left in surplus funds in that administrative budget. So again, I'm proposing that if we at least cut off half of that, that would be $50,000. Perhaps Greg can give us an update on what the surplus is at this point.
Darrell wanted to add something.
That's what I was gonna say, let's ask Greg
Yeah.
if he can expand on that.
Oh, that's what I couldn't see.
Which budget are you referring to, Mr. Hamilton?
The finance.
I'm going off of the budget operating summary, the end of November, the last one that you provided us with last week.
Well, you said there was over $500,000 that was left. The December report that I am looking at right now, the total financial and administration has less than $95,000 left, and we're not through the end of the year yet.
Would we be able to be provided with that, the December one, before our next meeting? Perhaps before you leave for the end of the year? Could we be provided with
I
that?
could give you, I will provide, I'd be glad to provide it to you, but I will tell you the next day it will change. Because we are at year end and we have bills coming in on a daily basis. But I mean, I can give you the latest and greatest when I leave on Tuesday. I'd be glad to.
Okay.
Greg, can you anticipate how much will be left?
If there was a question there, I can't hear anything.
Oh, speak
Greg,
in. Yeah.
could you anticipate what would be left, knowing what you know right now?
Of the total budget,
Yes.
I did a rough estimate, on the total budget of 9.7 million, and my estimation is we'll have between $200,000 and $300,000 left over in total by the time that the end of the year is closed.
Okay, thank you.
So if there's no further discussion, we can vote on this, and it will be a budget decrease of $1,250. Yeah, Dennis?
Just the justification in regards to that cut and where that will come from.
I was just looking at the expenditure report and saw that there was, I mean, I know he said that he plans on, there's less than 96,000, I didn't write down the number, but, I mean, a $1,250 cut, when there's that much left over right now, I don't think it's going to.
Right. right?
Yeah.
But- Okay.
Yeah, Bob?
I'd just like to make one comment, and this is the fact that we were provided with November's expense report. So all the expenses through the end of November. And at that point, we had spent less than $8 million out of a $9.8 million budget. How in the world can we have spent all of that money, $1.8 million nearly, in such a short period of time? How is that even humanly possible to spend all of that money? I mean, we're talking about 20% of the total budget is spent in 1 month.
Well, I think also it might depend on what POs are outstanding, you know, and what hasn't been paid.
Okay.
Out of those POs.
Okay? Okay, I rest my case.
Okay, so can we call to a vote? All those in favor of approving the finance budget for 181,575, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
Opposed?
Okay, abstain. So 7-0.
okay, I have a question.
Yep.
This spreadsheet, this list you gave us last meeting. Who made that up?
I took the numbers from the 2020 budget, and I figured, you know, if we could make the 2020 budget work, there's no reason why we can't extend the same 2020 items that were approved at town meeting into this year to show the taxpayers.
Okay,
we
so
know they're not-
it was you alone.
Yes.
Okay, I'll accept that. Also, I've never seen it done this way. Just take the bottom line of every budget, take off a number, and then later on, someone's going to figure out where to make the numbers work.
That's how the budget works all year, isn't it?
No,
They
that's how
take-
expenditures are done. That's not how a budget is created.
But they take money from each line to make things, any shortfalls work, correct?
So the budget's going to get submitted where the bottom line doesn't match the line items. Who in any financial or right mind would do something like that? It doesn't make any sense. And I'll tell you, I'm personally opposed to it. If you have something you want to cut on it and you have a place where you want to do it, I'm all for it. I'm just not for just taking off the bottom unless someone else figure out how to make the numbers work. Because it's just like, I'll take off amount and someone's going to make someone else make it happen. Because when the budget gets submitted, someone has to submit the information for the budget. So my question is, like before, who's going to do it?
I don't think any of us have like finance degrees. We just go through, our
I'm just
job-
saying, if you say, well, we're spending too much money on FA office supplies, and you can say, well, we're spending too much money there, so let's take it off there, or whatever, that makes sense. And then again, it changes the bottom line.
I don't know, Julian, I gave everybody this spreadsheet last week, and I said, if anybody has any questions or concerns, to contact me. So I don't
It
know why.
doesn't change the facts, Madam Chairman.
Go ahead.
The matter of the fact is that we're only required to submit a bottom line, a bottom number. We don't even have to do this. We could add these all up and submit a bottom number to the 737. That's all that's required by this committee.
Well, Madam Chair runs the meeting, you can do it the way you want.
I'm just.
I
if
don't
you
agree
have-
with it, and I'm going to make a statement, I don't agree with it.
I wish you contacted me when I asked if anybody had any questions instead of waiting till now, because the whole meeting was generated around this and going through the spreadsheet that I sent out to everyone.
It's not an answer, but I'll leave it at that.
Well, he can't vote either way if anything
Right.
changes anyway. Anything that's not approved by the Board of Selectmen, he's got to abstain from
Correct.
anyway.
That's correct. No, I don't have to abstain, I'm voting no.
Either
It
way.
is not the number we approved, so I'm going to vote no. That's it.
Okay, so the next one is for assessing, and that stayed the same. That was $111,818. Is there a motion on the floor to approve that budget as is.
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay. Discussion?
That was
Assessing.
assessment, right?
I don't think anybody has any discussion because it stayed the same, so all those in favor of approving the assessing budget for $111,818, say aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
Okay. Abstain, so it's 8-1. Peter was the one. That was Peter? Yep. Okay, the next one is the tax collector, and that also stayed the same. And when I say stayed the same, I mean it's the same as what the town manager recommended. So that budget is $48,970. So is there a motion on the floor to approve that?
I'll make a motion to approve the tax collector's budget for $48,970.
A second.
Okay, Bob, second. Discussion? No discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving the tax collector's budget for $48,970, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Okay, motion carries 900. We did legal last week for $75,000. This year's human personnel budget went up to $1,910,526, and I recommended in the column the same amount.
Which
Is there a motion to approve that amount?
The 75,000?
Nope, we did that last meeting. This is the personnel line, human resources. Right underneath it.
You're on legal, right?
No, we approved that last week.
legal last week.
Oh, all right, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll make the motion to approve the human resource personnel budget for $1,910,256.
Second.
Darrell seconded. Discussion?
266?
Yep, 256.
256.
I would like to, if we're discussing it, add a line item for a legal representation of the Budget Committee. Not to be lumped in with legal, but a separate line item, and a nominal amount so that we can get an answer every now and then that we need it from somebody who's familiar with the law of New Hampshire.
We already approved legal, so I don't know if
I
we'll
mean,
have.
we did go cut it last week, and I'm adding that's $500, let's say.
Oh, wait a minute, we have a motion on the floor
Yeah,
for the
let's
next line.
do this
We
first.
already, yeah.
We're discussing it.
That's the wrong line, Pete.
We did legal last week, so I skipped over it. We can revisit it
You'd have to
after.
bring it up in new business.
Okay.
We're on
Okay.
the next, we're on the human resources line.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a
Yeah,
second.
we had a motion and a second. So is there any more discussion about personnel and human resources?
I'm sorry, can you give me that number again?
$1,910,256.
200? This
This
is
is for-
526.
This is for
Yeah,
legal.
we,
No, this is for,
Human resources personnel, 4155.
Right. I think you missed, you
I'm
you
looking
took
at
two of the
it
numbers
as-
around.
yeah,
You said it's 526, you said
that's what I have,
256.
526,
oh,
that's why I was,
I'm sorry, so.
yeah. That's
that-
why I was asking for the number.
Yeah.
So
you
it should
just
be five. I wrote
Yeah,
two.
you
Yeah, it
transposed.
should be five.
Right.
So it's 1,910,526.
Correct.
Yeah. That's
Sorry
what I
about
thought.
that. That was just dyslexia kicking in. So all those in favor of approving the human resource personnel budget of $1,910,526?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 900, the motion carries. The next one is for planning, and last year, town meeting approved was $92,507. My reasoning was that we made it work this year. Nobody sent me any questions regarding that, so the new amount I kept was the same as last year, $92,507.
I'll make that motion to approve the planning budget for $92,507.
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion? Yep.
Larry, if you don't mind you being on the planning board, do you think that would be a sufficient
Yes.
budget? Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion? No? Okay, all those in favor of approving the planning board budget of $92,507, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Julian? Are you opposed?
No, it's not a change.
It is a
It is a
change.
change.
You said 90, yes, oh, no, sorry.
So
That's no.
8-1-0. Julian is the no. Okay, the next one is zoning, and that was $3,550 at town meeting. So I just kept the same as town meeting, $3,550. It's a $500 difference.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Bob Zukas seconded. Discussion?
And the amount was what?
Planning?
Zoning.
I mean zoning.
Zoning.
What was the amount?
$3,550.
Okay. 3,550.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving planning for $3,550, say aye.
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 No,
Opposed?
Opposed?
no.
Dennis and Julian, so 7-2-0. Okay, the second one is general government buildings, and that is an increase this year. I kept it the same as town meeting, so the number that I have is $292,185.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Darrell made the motion.
Second?
Sam seconded. Discussion? I think the budget increase was mostly due to COVID and moving the town hall annex over there. So the justification for that would be when COVID is over, we shouldn't have that extra building being used.
Agreed. Agreed.
That was my justification for last year's number at town meeting. Any other discussion? No?
Do we know if that's in the plans, Julian, to,
There's no discussion about moving anything from building to building
Okay.
at this point.
But
We
that,
don't even know what's going to happen next week, really.
well, is the annex a temporary thing because of COVID? That was my understanding.
My understanding it was, but for the future, it has not been discussed yet.
I believe that's what we were told at a prior meeting as well.
Okay. All right, I'll call to a vote. So all those in favor of the general government building approving budget for $292,185, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
So 9-1-0?
Eight.
I mean, 8-1-0, sorry. All right, the next one is cemeteries, and that is the same as the town manager recommended budget for this year, $8,000.
I'll make a motion, we accept it.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Darrell seconded. Okay, discussion? No? All right, all those in favor of approving the cemetery's budget for $8,000, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstained, 900. All right, the next one is insurances, and the Board of Selectmen added money to it, and I went with the Board of Selectmen number because I figured if insurances were being added to, it's contractually something you have to pay for, so that number is $142,416.
I'll make a motion to approve the insurance budget for $142,416.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Bob Hamilton seconded. Discussion?
The only question I have is, the town manager had 135,000. What happened between the Board of Selectmen and the town manager as far as that number?
I can answer that.
Yeah,
Yep.
go ahead.
The insurance bill came in, and it came in higher, and they voted to
Okay.
approve it.
That was discussed at the previous meeting.
So a higher insurance premium?
Yeah.
Okay. So all those in favor of approving the insurances budget for $142,416, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? 900. The next one is advertising regional association. So that went up this year by $1,000. I just justified it as the same as last year since we didn't overspend. That's where I came up with that number. Last year's was 25.5, so I just kept it the same.
Make that motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Sam seconded to approve. Dennis? And then Sam. Discussion?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the November actuals, and if we look at that, and this is through November, 99% of that has been spent, so not sure if there'll be anything more for December, but it does look like that is a budget would go over on.
Do you have December numbers on that, Greg?
Sorry, my connection is cutting in and out. I don't even know what budget you're on at this point because I can't hear anything.
Okay, sorry about that. We were just talking about the advertising regional association,
Yep,
4197.
yep. There's $172.60 left
Okay,
unspent at this point.
okay.
Thank you. Perfect.
I mean, I think that's a fair number. I know that it's not cutting a whole lot, but at the same time, every little bit counts.
They're right on anyway.
Yep. So that was my thought process. Any more discussion? Okay. All those in favor of approving the advertising regional association budgets for $25,500, say aye.
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 Opposed?
No?
Okay, so Dennis and Julian, 720. The next one is cable. And I used last year's number of 29,294. And based on November, it was 86.18% used. So I figured that that would be justifiable.
I'll make a motion.
To approve the cable department budget for $29,294.
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion?
Question is that franchise fees that go up on a yearly basis?
On a contract
It's not a year to year.
I didn't think, we're going to ask Greg.
Greg?
Yes, but
On the cable budget, does that?
Yes.
Is that a contract fee that goes up on a yearly basis or contractual basis?
on the cable budget,
Yes.
are you asking what the increase is in the budget is, or are you talking about cable franchise fee revenue? Those are two separate things.
I'm talking about, I guess what I'm asking is, on a yearly basis, is there an increase in the contract for the town?
That isn't that line.
That's not that line?
I think this is the line.
This is the cable department's
Oh,
budget.
cable department, sorry, my bad.
This is the cable department budget, and the increase is due to COVID because we are utilizing Zoom and GoToMeeting subscriptions, and that's why this budget has gone up by $2,250.
Okay, that's right, thank you.
Any more discussion?
Yeah, but I noticed the dues and subscriptions as of October was $85. We budgeted $13.44, and for this year, we've only spent $85.
So
Did you hear that, Greg?
But then I see the equipment repair on the other end. We had a large.
did you want to speak to it? Is that why you popped up?
Yes, can you hear me?
Very loudly and distorted.
Okay, I'll be upstairs then. I'll clarify that in person.
Oh, that's better.
Better, you better.
I think he's coming upstairs.
Can I make a comment, Madam Chairman?
Yep.
So we entered into the 2020 budget without really knowing that COVID was going to happen in 2020. When COVID happened, we subscribed to these services. So if you look at the subscriptions, you see that we went from the $1,344 that was budgeted, and you can see that with the new subscriptions that we have to have in 2021 to maintain what we have, that's what the difference is. But Dean will speak to this. I figured I'd take up some time while he's coming up to answer.
Okay.
So the answer is there's unexpected things that happened in 2020 that are going to roll into 2021 that are expenses that are unavoidable. But Dean will take over from here.
Yep.
Okay, last I heard before I was headed up was a question about the dues and subscriptions.
Yeah.
That is anticipated to be fully utilized. That's actually one of the line items that's been historically down very close to the actual amount. Most of our subscription items are basically our Adobe Access and among many other things. Most of those items do come due to renew at the end of the year. So like Vimeo, live stream, it's soon to be either Zoom or GoToMeeting, however you decide. A majority of those items come due at the end of the year. So those usually get purchased and submitted towards the end of the year. So that's when they typically will be coming in.
So I hate to put you on the spot. I don't know if you have the numbers in front of you, but which subscription services were utilized that were new as of COVID? Is that just the GoToMeetings?
Yes, the major change in subscription products was GoToMeeting. And there was a little bit of uncertainty there because we got that mid-year, we had added it. I think this year it might have come under a different line because there were some, and Greg can cover that more in a moment. But also, too, is that we might be looking at some different options. So, but they will be around roughly the same cost. But the big one is, in general, is conferencing software
That was the new one. Okay.
services.
Yep. Greg?
The Gopher money that we submitted, some of the Zoom meeting and subscriptions to Gopher and received reimbursement for those. And those expenses were moved over to Fund 2 to not reflect out of the actual
Okay,
budget.
all right. So is the conferencing software a yearly thing, a monthly subscription? How does that work? Because if life suddenly goes back to normal after the vaccine, are we going to need to utilize it?
I'm predicting that we probably will still be using it. It is annual, much like many other services. It is a better deal to get it at an annual rate. So, yes, it is an annual, and there are some options, like we may want to get like the basic service versus webinar. So we might be finding some things that we need or we don't need, so we may be refining those details along the way. But it was a significant difference in that line to what we had before, but it's expected that we would still be utilizing that kind of software,
Okay,
or service, I should say.
yep.
You
Julie?
know, I just want to say that GoToMeeting isn't something we should have had just because of COVID. We just got late into the game. Other towns and committees and ours have been using remote meetings for a long time. We're behind the times. That's why we got hit so hard during COVID. This is something that should continue on even after the COVID crisis is over, if it ever is over.
Yes, this is something I will say from working with access centers throughout the state. This is something, this is not just a Plaistow issue. A lot of facilities, a lot of municipalities are dealing with a lot of new things that they haven't done before, and we will be continuing to do one way or another. I mean, this works out great for our planning and zoning meetings, among other things. So it is expected that we will be utilizing it.
Any other?
Could I add a comment, Madam Chairman?
Yep,
So to give you an example, this was used with a virtual police academy because the COVID came on right where we had 2 people going to the police academy, so it was used for a period of time. And, you know, life doesn't stop because of COVID. There's certain things that have to continue, and there's certain webinars and training that our personnel have been using the webinar to attend training virtually. And I would just say that there's some economy of scale that for this amount of money that is added to the cable budget that will be used by nearly every department or employee in the town, that it's not going to go away after COVID.
And just think about the savings when someone doesn't have to travel up north to go to a class or a school, and they allow the remote training and things like that, which really weren't prevalent before, but now they kind of got forced into it. Now they're going to realize how valuable this really is. Just as many businesses already have figured out, hey, we don't need to have all these offices for our employees because they're doing a fine job from home. So this is the same thing with government too. There's no necessity to have an expense report for travel north, have a vehicle, spend gas, and come back. So you're going to be down the road, you're actually saving money for a small investment, and essentially to be able to have remote meetings. So this is a good thing for the future.
Pete, did you have something to add?
Dean, why do we need all of these different programs like Zoom and GoToMeeting and,
Right now,
couldn't we consolidate to one?
okay, right now, we are utilizing, and keep in mind that in some cases, you may hear them used interchangeably. And I think that at this point, people are more used to using Zoom. That's the more common application. So people might be saying Zoom even though they're technically on GoToMeeting, but we are looking at which services we might be switching to in the future as we're evaluating the different options. So we do not, as far as I know, I don't know if there's any other departments utilizing different software, but as far as within cable, we only have, for conferencing software, GoToMeeting. So we do not have multiple subscriptions at this point. If we decide down the road to make a switch, there may be a transition time where we do, but that's not the plan long-term to have multiple subscriptions for the same product.
So eventually we'll have one.
Correct. We have one right now.
What's the one for if public comment, if people have to come in on public comment? That's a different setup?
Yes, well, what we have right now, what we're using is, for example, is we're on right now with Mark and Greg, we're using GoToMeeting.
Okay,
Our subscription to GoToMeeting includes one of their other products called GoToWebinar.
okay,
Webinar is the one where we can manage public viewing, public commenting, turning people on and off as needed, and doing all that with more control. And those are both part of the what we're subscribing to right now.
okay.
And Zoom has a similar setup too, where they have like a basic Zoom account, and then there's a Zoom account that has webinar. So you might be hearing from others like what they're paying for their product, but it may not be comparable to what we have and what we need here. So it is more costly to get the webinar product with the capacity that we would be needing for what we are doing here.
Is there a need to still have Zoom if we have that webinar product?
Yes, yeah, it's basically, there's the Zoom meetings, and then on top of that is an add-on for the webinar. So it's, basically you would get one, and then the add-on would be the webinar
But
function.
Zoom and GoToWebinar meeting are two different services.
Correct.
Do we need to have those two different services?
No, we do not. If we were to make a switch, there may be a transition period where we may start one new subscription while the other one hasn't lapsed yet. But that's a conversation we still need to have as to when we might, if we consider changing products, how we may go about it. But there might be, just so we don't have like an immediate cutover and the disruptions that might cause some people, we might have a transition period to make that happen.
Yeah, but you're going to, sorry to interrupt you.
But going long-term, I don't think we would have a need for multiple products.
Okay.
You're going to find some organizations are using Zoom, like the school board does, for instance.
Yes.
Some organizations are using GoToMeeting, and I've been in other meetings and other positions, let's say, and I've had to use both. It depends on what they have. I think the only reason our town manager went with GoToMeeting because at the time, it had more secure connections. Because we also have to use this for non-public and stuff, and you can't have that be non-secure.
Right.
And so it was for security reasons, and that could change down the road because in software world, things change.
So
Yes, Zoom and among other products have changed very quickly in the past for obvious reasons. They've changed and evolved very quickly. So some of the issues that were prevalent in the beginning are not so much the case right now.
So does the town have a Zoom? I'm confused. Does the town have Zoom and GoToMeetings? Do you know that?
We do not have Zoom.
Okay.
There might be some individuals, like there might be some committees where somebody might be using their own personal Zoom.
Oh, I see.
That may have you can have like a free account with a 40-minute limitation.
Right, okay.
Or somebody might be using a personal Zoom, but the town itself doesn't have a.
That was my question. So
a
we only
purchase
have
account.
one service.
Yeah, 'cause I'll just say example, initially during old home day meetings, when we still had them before we decided to cancel it, we were using a personal Zoom account so we could have our meetings. And that was really prior because we couldn't get people together.
Right.
So we were already using it before the COVID-19 so that we could have meetings with everybody attending without everybody not being able to make it on a certain Sunday afternoon.
Yep.
So it was useful even before the COVID, but then again, we didn't have to worry about security either. So, and it was a personal account.
Okay.
I have a question. Dean, what is the consultants?
The consultant line.
Yeah.
That's typically for any outside services that we need. Like if we had like to do, for example, like if we had to do any like wiring projects, anything where we would be contracting with outside supports, that's typically what that line would come from. And that's one of those lines that, unlike dues and subscriptions, it varies greatly from year to year based on our needs. But if we ever needed any individuals to come in, they would be covered out of that line.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Madam Chair, can I make
Yes.
one final comment? So the franchise fee comes in as a revenue, and it pretty much covers this whole budget. So I just wanted to bring that to the board, for the board's consideration.
Greg, do you have a number on the franchise fee?
Yeah, franchise fees around between $40,000 and $45,000 per quarter, or 160 to 180,000 per year.
Okay, thank you.
And
I guess, yeah,
just withdraw the reduction with the information that's been told us.
who made the motion?
That, or I'll make an amendment, whichever way you
Yeah, we
guys
can
want to do
withdraw
it.
if someone
Yeah,
wants.
we can withdraw it, or we can vote no and vote again.
Does someone, I don't remember who made the motion.
Who
Do you,
made the motion for this line?
Yes,
you did.
Okay.
Do you want to vote or you want to withdraw?
No, I'll withdraw. Me
yes.
and Bob?
Yeah, so,
Okay, I'll withdraw the motion.
And I'll withdraw the second, yep.
so is there a new motion on the floor?
I'll make a motion that we accept the cable budget for $31,500.
Approve.
Approve, thank you. That we approve the cable budget for $31,544.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, Bob, I heard you first. Okay, discussion, we already kind of had our discussion. All those in favor of approving the cable budget for $31,544, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, 900, the motion carries. The next one is conflict of interest, and that is stayed the same all across the board for $250.
I make
Make
a
a motion
motion,
that we accept the conflict of interest budget for $250.
Okay. Dennis made the motion. Bob, do you want to second it?
yes.
Okay. Discussion? All those in favor of approving the conflict of interest budget for $250, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? 900. Okay, the next one is the other general government, and that the town manager recommended 192,500, the BOS approved 196, and I just took the last year of 145, and that, I think the other general government was the one that all the new stuff goes under, I'm not sure. But I just used the number from last year.
Madam Chairman, can I make a comment?
I used last year's number to come up with the possible recommendation.
I think he said, can he make a comment?
Make a
Oh,
comment.
can you make, what was that? You can, I
Could I
thought
make-
you said, yeah, I thought you said repeat your comment. Please, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So there's a philosophical discussion that has gone on as a result of the CIP, the Capital Improvement Program. One was to include warrant articles to create an IT capital reserve account for long-term IT needs. And the other one was, the counterargument to that was to add to the operational budget for things that are needed for the operational, that is every year. So I just wanted to bring to the board's attention that there's different philosophies on how to fund IT, and you can split the baby, and, you know, what we did is add a portion to the other government account to account for the IT needs on an annual basis, and then leave the capital improvement for the major improvements that have to be done, if it's, you know, servers and major upgrades that will happen over time. So my comments are just comments about discussions that have gone on, and to tell you why this was increased partially to account for some annual unexpected or expected, however you look at it. But there will be annual upgrades made through the workforce IT. and that's why this was increased. But I think Greg had his hand up because Greg has been the one overseeing a lot of the IT in town.
Well, we also added to it, we've beefed up our security and the like from a standpoint of we have undergone CGIS audits with state police with regards to the police department and the like, and some of the added costs are, we're trying to prevent ransomware because this increase is a whole lot cheaper than if somebody hacks into our internet, or not our internet, but into our networks and takes all of our information hostage. So we've got an added beefed up security protocol and the like that we are, and have been instituting, with our IT department. So that's really is a lot of this increase as well.
Is this number based off of the previous week's Board of Selectmen meeting? There was a whole presentation about IT security. Is that?
Yes.
So.
And to Greg's point, what you need to understand is it's been recommended by our security IT firms for security reasons that we actually transition the town hall server to a safer location with a public safety complex that can accommodate that, and then we would use our fiber optic line back to town hall. And so, yes, the answer is that discussion is related to this line item, and if this line item is cut, then we potentially won't have the funds to make the security upgrades that are recommended by our IT people to prevent the ransomware and attacks that are happening very close to us in this region.
Now, maybe you could correct me if I interpreted the meeting wrong, but didn't a selectman ask for, there was no number attached to it yet, and they had asked to get us a number as soon as possible, but I don't think that's been submitted yet?
That is correct, and I was the one that asked the question about that, and they said that they would try to get us that number. So even this number doesn't include a potential new number that they're going to propose to us to move equipment and to do other things. So we would be further held back on protecting essentially the whole town internet structure.
So was this increase based on a quote from a company to come in and take care of everything?
No, this was the what we had for information at that time before that selectmen's meeting, where I asked for an additional quote to actually move the server.
Okay.
And
Dennis?
Was part of that discussion the reason why the Board of Selectmen's number was increased from the town managers?
The Board of Selectmen moved a line item out of the executive budget into the OGG computer internet. That's why the increase. The executive budget was decreased by 4,000, and this budget was increased by 4,000.
It just,
I believe, the website subscription.
it just didn't make sense to have an orphan IT-related account in the executive budget, and Greg has been combining all of this into one area because it's common to this area.
I guess my final thought on that is this increase from last year's 85,000 to 130,000. How far will that money get us in transferring everything over to be secure?
Greg, do you want to take a stab at it from the perspective of that we have made a lot of progress with the CARES and Gopher grants with our technology, so that was also unexpected, and so I don't know if you have any comments financially about that whole CARES Gopher.
I mean, I could tell you a lot of the equipment, the IT equipment that we have purchased this year, from outfitting the town hall annex to laptops and the like, to do remote work for the employees has all been paid out of the Gopher money. I will, December report to date shows that we have expended $186,000 under this other general government line item. So, we are right in the neighborhood of this 196.5 that we are requesting. And there are, subscriptions and the like that we are now paying to properly monitor all activity that comes in and out of the server, among other things. We're in the process of, upgrading the Microsoft Office so that each board chair, has their own, email account and the like. It's a whole moving package, if you will, to bring our IT into the 21st century.
So I don't know if that answers the question. Will this increase help finish that project, or will there be more increases for IT as we go along? Are we fixing it all at once, or is this just a little bit?
Well, this is what I would anticipate would be the IT budget, going forward. So, and we'll, fix everything that we can. And when we get the quote to move the server, we'll see what we have and try to allocate. That's a hard question to answer, just as a yes or no.
All right.
I apologize.
So would the funds not be taken out of general funds if there was a shortfall in the move?
If there's a shortfall, I assume it would come out of the general fund. Is that correct? If we have to make more adjustments and to the IT and we overspend it, it'll just come out of the general fund?
Do that.
Yeah, there's no other place to take the money from.
Yeah.
Well,
I think there is another place. There is probably going to be a contingency fund. And if the money is needed in this, for this line item and it's not approved, it appears to me it could be found other places.
The contingency fund is for unanticipated expenses. If we're discussing this right now, then I don't think those expenses would be considered unanticipated.
Julian?
I sort of like a clarification about general fund. We can't just take money out of the general fund if it hasn't been budgeted. We could take it from other line items. Is that what you meant, Greg? I don't think we can just take it out of the general fund.
Money from within the budget that's
Within the
already
budget, yeah,
there.
because you said general fund.
Yes.
That's a total different box.
Wouldn't it be part of the excess each year?
If we had a surplus.
But it would have to come out of the total of the current budget. It can't come out of the money that's not allocated in the budget. So it's two different things.
But
Darryl?
what,
And again, I harken back to whether this affects this or not. When I asked Greg for an anticipated, and I know he couldn't hold a number, but it was roughly $200,000 to $300,000. Perhaps if something goes over, then it could come from there too.
Right.
Right.
Mr. Britton, I should qualify that statement that we have 200,000 or 300,000 left over by the fact that we've had, I can identify exactly why we have that. That could be a topic for a different discussion, but we had 31 months of vacancies in the police department, and that along with roll-up costs is primarily that entire budget surplus that we have left. So with a full police department, I wouldn't anticipate that for next year.
But that's what you're anticipating for this year?
Yes,
Okay,
and it's primarily due to the vacancies at the PD.
right.
Okay.
Do we have a motion on the floor?
Yeah, we do. Is there any more discussion on this?
yeah, so I'm still trying to wrap my head. So if there's a surplus in any of the budgets as unspent, that goes into the general fund.
After the end of the year.
After the end of the year.
After the end of the general fund. So if there was an overage that was not budgeted for, even though, let's say this had $10,000 over at the end of the year and went into general funds, and then the following year now, we're into this 2021, and we run into a shortfall, and we just sent 10,000 into general fund, that's goodbye. That's just, okay. So I'm at a loss on how that does not equate to if you need to get that 10,000 in the following year to be able to take care of something that came up like this.
That's why the department head would go ahead and raise his request for the budget the following year.
Right.
Okay?
And
Yep.
that, in that case, there's a couple things that can happen. It can be unexpected funds that the Board of Selectmen can choose, you know, take a vote on what to spend that on, or put it back in to go towards the taxpayers.
Right, I get it.
Okay, so should we vote on this? There was a motion on the floor.
I'll amend the motion on the floor.
Okay,
I'll amend it to the amount of, based on the discussion we just had, to the amount of 196,500.
so does there need to be a new second, or?
I'll second it.
Yeah, okay. All those in favor of approving the other general government for 196,500, say aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
So 1, 2, 3, 4,
I said no.
5. So the motion fails.
I'd like to make a motion to amend that budget for the general government buildings to $190,000.
I'll
Even.
second that.
Okay. Discussion? Do you want to just say where that decrease came from?
I'm splitting the difference between what was originally anticipated and requested and what was the current, the recent motion.
All right,
I see where you're going.
So what are we at, 190?
190.
90.
All right, all those in favor of the amended other general government budget for 190,000, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, so 6, 3, 0, and the threes were Julian, Peter, and Daryl. Okay, the next one is the police budget, and that was level funded. So that number is $2,011,175. Is there a motion on the floor?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Daryl made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Bob Zukas seconded. Discussion? Yes, Bob?
I'd just like to make the comment that this police dispatch budget is the largest that we have, the largest budget. It represents over 20% of our total budget. And as of the end of November, 23.1% of it was not spent, and I'm sure it was explained by the fact that we didn't have a full staffing at the police department, but that does represent a lot of money. I don't know what we look at the end of, at this point, Greg, but it appears to me that we're like $100,000 under budget, the police department, police budget.
Well, we're through the report that I have right now, we spent 1,736,000 at this point. And as I said before, I calculated out roughly due to vacancies in the police budget that we save, now I wouldn't say that we saved, but we underspent by 160,000 because of the 31 months worth of vacancies. And I believe we're at a full force now and are anticipating going into 2021 with a full staff, full force.
I don't know if you or Mark have the answer to this, but last year when we had the presentation of the police department, it was stressed that we have more boots on the ground officers and less overhead as far as administration. Are we now hiring those people back, like those positions back?
Oh, I can answer that question, Madam Chairman. So the structure now is, there are no captains and there are no lieutenants. There is a chief, and the next rank below the chief is sergeants. And right now, we have, let me just, give me a second to count. There's either 5 or 6 sergeants. I think that there's 6. So the boots on the ground, the sergeants, there's 2 sergeants that are performing administration and boots on the ground. That is, that they're in uniform, they will respond to calls, and they are essentially boots on the ground, but they are helping out with administration. So the answer is no, we don't have 2 captains and a lieutenant that previously were in the hierarchy. But this brings us to the, all the vacancies are filled, and we will balance the budget by reducing down overtime, excessive overtime, either on patrol or in dispatch, once we have the new dispatchers, there's 2 of them, fully trained. I just want to bring to the committee's attention that in the past month we've hired 2 full-time dispatchers. That's not a plug and play that they're on their own. They will have to spend a considerable amount of time in dispatch with a training person before they're certified by the state and they're able to be left alone. So that will incur some expenses to do that, but it's a requirement under the CGIS and all of the certifications that are required for dispatchers.
So I just want to,
So
I just want you to confirm something because I want to make sure that I understand. So we saw a big cost savings last year with the new structure of the police department. So that structure is not changing. It's still going to stay the same?
that's correct.
Okay. And then my question about dispatch, do we still dispatch for other towns?
We dispatch for Atkinson Police and Fire and sometimes for their highway department.
And do they give us payment? Is that a form of revenue, if Greg can answer that?
Yes, that is a contract. I negotiated that contract a couple years ago. It has an escalator in it. Greg can give you the exact numbers. I don't think he's got it in front of him, but I'm just gonna say that the contract's in the area of $43,000 a year with some escalators built in. And I think we signed a 5-year contract. So yes, there's somewhat of an offsetting revenue for the dispatch component. And what I tell people is that if we didn't have that contract, we would still have the operational cost of our dispatch. So by having that revenue source, it helps offset of what we already would have to pay. 100% of it, it's an offset to our 100%.
Do you know what benefits we have having our own dispatch? Because I know if you call 911 from a cell phone and you don't get directly Plaistow dispatch, it goes all the way to Concord, and then they monitor the call and figure out who it has to go to, and then they send it out to the correct place. Does having our own dispatch cut anything like that down?
Well, that's a complicated question, but 911 does not replace the dispatch.
Okay.
911 is just included for emergencies, and there are many other calls that come in that are not a 911 type call.
Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
And this is for the town manager or Mr. Colby. I don't know if either one of you can recall this or have it in your records. In my time on the board, I seem to think that we've always budgeted for a full complement of the police department, and I seem to also remember that we usually don't. Not that I'm knocking it. I'm just wondering, do you know when the last time we did have a full complement on the department, either town manager or Mr. Colby? I don't keep track of it, so I don't really would know. But I know we haven't for a long time.
Well, I'm coming up on 4 years. This is the first time my tenure that we're approaching having full capacity, assuming that the 2 new dispatch hires will pass the probationary period and the other officers on probation will pass. So I'm very proud to say that Plaistow has now got a full complement of officers because I think you've heard that it's been very difficult to attract candidates, and in fact, we were losing candidates to other departments. So with a plan that we developed, we have turned that around, and now we're the department that's attracting candidates from the other departments. So we've turned it around 180 degrees, and you know, that way there, we're not always having a vacancy and then have to recruit and then have to train, and then we lose somebody else and we start all over again. We feel that the people coming to us now are not going to be leaving us. But there was vacancies that you're referring to that were ongoing for a number of years, but I can't tell you how many or and so forth. And you have to factor in that there also are people that will retire in the normal course of the job. So there will be future vacancies, but we think we can fill the future vacancies at a faster rate because we have a successful program of attracting candidates now. A lot of people want to come to Plaistow to work now.
All right, that's good, and thank you for the answer. It's just that it was on the money aspect of it. I know every year we budget for a potential full complement, and very rarely, or I think if ever, if I've been on the committee, we've had it. So it's nice to see that we're gonna budget for a department that we potentially will actually have this year. That's good.
Julian?
I'd like to also point out, maybe the town manager can verify this. Sometimes you may see a police officer with a higher rank, but they're not a normal police officer that's on the budget. They may just be part of a detail. The details you'll see in town are funded off an enterprise fund, which is not off the taxpayer's bill. So you'll see a lot of police presence in Plaistow, but we're not actually paying for that.
Yep.
So, that might be true, town manager? You might see a captain as an example, but it's not really our police captain. We're not paying for a captain.
Yeah.
Well, anybody, that's a complicated explanation, but I'll make it real simple. So we have, right now, I believe we have 7 part-time officers in the outside detail arena. That means that the full-time officers and the 7 part-time officers would be filling an outside detail. In the absence of a full-time or part-time Plaistow police officer being available, then it would go to a mutual aid type situation where we would call other departments, and then other departments would come into town and work that outside detail, and they would bill the contractor directly. So you could see somebody from another town or wearing some other uniform or rank, but that's just to fill the spot because we couldn't fill it internally. But again, what Selectman Kieska is referring to is the outside detail enterprise fund is also very successful. And we've reduced down the fleet of vehicles from the operational side of the budget from 18 to 10. So that has also produced some stability with the vehicles. And you probably will not be hearing from us in the near future, even asking for any vehicles, because already crested the hill on vehicles and we're in good shape with vehicles.
There is a motion on the floor, so are we ready to call for a vote?
Well, I still had a question.
Yeah.
Okay, I noticed on the crossing guard, we have a approved budget of $19,994, but then in the description, it says that $13,184 is reimbursed by the Timberlane or by the SAU. So. my
That's correct.
Okay, so the 13,000, so where does so when that comes in, so is that offset the 19,000, or is that in, plus the 19,000 for the crossing guards, to pay for the crossing guard? Do you see?
Greg, do you want to, with the money coming in on that?
The money that comes over from the SAU goes in as a revenue. So this is a gross budget of all crossing guard expenses that's offset by the SAU revenue for the high school.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess
out.
it means that we're still going to pay out the 19,994, and then we may get back the 13,184, but the 13,184 doesn't add back into any of these line items. It goes right into the general fund,
You get it?
like all the other
Comes
departments,
back.
just
I
like
do.
the inspection department. All the inspection fees don't come back into the regular budget, they go into the general fund.
Got it.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
The officer that is compensated by, I don't know if compensated is a good word for it, but by the Walmart Plaza, how is that money how does that money show up?
That also goes into the general fund.
Okay,
On the revenue side.
Yeah.
okay.
So my question, that 13,184 that's reimbursed by the SAU, what is the, like, $5,000 difference between that? Are we not losing money, but we're funding 5,000 out of our own pocket, and that's our share of the SAU?
Yeah, right.
We have a crossing guard at Pollard. We also have a crossing guard over at the high school, because the high school is a regional. We bill for the regional cost of the crossing guard over there.
Okay,
So the Pollard one, which with no outside students going to the Pollard school, it's only Plaistow. So that's why the difference in the budget.
okay. That makes sense, thank you. Okay.
You're welcome.
So we'll call to the vote. All those in favor of approving the police budget for $2,011,175, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? 900. The next one is fire, and the change here is that we took the position, having the fire station staffed 24 hours, we took that out of the budget and put it into a warrant article, so this number reflects that. It's on the printout we got last week of the new fire budget. So that number is $784,285.
I make a motion, we accept, to approve that.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Dennis will second it. Discussion? No discussion? Okay. All those in favor of approving the fire budget for $784,285, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? 900. The next one is building inspection, and I just took the number from the town meeting.
This year's one.
What was that?
Yeah, this year's number?
For this year's number. It's 127,706, and that's a $9,175 difference. Is there a motion on the floor to approve this budget?
I'll make a motion.
What's the number again?
To approve the building
Oh,
inspection?
what was the number that you
Yeah, I'm
put up?
going to read it.
Right.
$127,706.
Thank
Is
you.
there a second?
I'll second it.
Sam seconded. Discussion?
Question, more than discussion. what was the total revenues from that department?
Right.
Yep.
A lot.
In which year?
This past year?
I believe we're hovering around 100,000 for inspections.
Yeah, Dennis?
So that was going to be my comment is, for the most part, this is one of those budgets where, you know, the revenue offsets this budget.
Right.
And the trend seems to be there is an increase in building going on at this point. So, you know, I think we could justify the budget at being at the 136,881.
Comment? I think that's, I'm sorry, Larry.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, we have a new building inspector. So, I mean, I don't know what his salary is, but
Point.
the other building inspector was here, what, 30 years or more?
Yes.
So are we starting off a new inspector at the same pay rate? And
Point.
are they getting insurance or, you know, I don't know any of that.
Good point.
Is it a full-time inspector?
I don't know that either. I asked that question at planning board, I never really got an answer.
On the revenue, go ahead. You were trying to speak, Mark?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can wait till you're done.
Okay, thank you. On the revenue answer that Greg said from the income, out of that revenue, I believe it doesn't all, we don't keep it all, in lack of a better terms, that the electrical and the plumbing inspector are paid out of that, because don't they get paid per inspection? Am I correct in that, or correct me if I'm wrong, please?
They are paid for inspection, but we gross budget the estimate. That's why you'll see at the bottom of, you know, we have 2 line items for plumbing and electrical.
Yeah.
So we have a gross budget there, but we also bring the money in on the other side. And just for a point of clarification too, the prior year budget, why this one increased so much is there was an error in the prior year budget that the lease on the truck was omitted last year. That's why there's a over $6,000 increase.
Okay.
Okay, and the plumbing and electrical inspectors, fees basically get paid by the builder anyway, they're a wash?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mark, did you have to add something?
Yes, so the question was about the rate of pay compared to the previous person and the new person. So the new person is full-time. The new person, without getting into personal details as far as insurance, but there are the fringe benefits, and that's different for everybody. You know, one person could have a single, one could have a 2-person, one could have a family plan. So, so that is a full-time position with the town benefits. The person is an interim right now. I do expect that the person will be made permanent. And they were not brought in at the top scale. But again, it's a competitive market out there, and I had to attract qualified candidates, I had to basically offer almost the same level of salary that the long-term inspector had. And I understand that over time, if somebody's here for 30 years and they get a raise every year, which I'm not saying that they have every year, there's been years I understand where they didn't. But, you know, we look at a salary comparison with other communities, and the rate of pay that I offered the new inspector is in that range of pays that we're competing against with other communities.
Pete, did you have something to add?
Greg, I've got a question that, like on this budget, we budget for 127,000, and let's say we budgeted for 150,000, and we only get revenue of 100. So we have taxed the people for 150,000, but we only got 100 back. So that 50,000 that's extra, does that go into the general fund for our zero-base budgeting? Can it be used for something else?
Can I jump in, or, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's not, the salary line, isn't just the building inspector, I believe it's also
The assistant.
the assistant in the office.
That is correct. And I want to correct my statement from before because we got a large, inspection revenue. We've got more like $145,000 so far year to date for revenue out of the inspection department.
Okay, so that's a better number.
And, yeah, and there's not a separate line for each individual in the office. It's just, it says permanent positions. So
That is correct.
That is more than just the building inspector, the top line.
That is correct.
Thank you.
No, I don't think that was my question.
All right, sorry, I thought that's what it was.
My question is that every year we put into the budget an estimate of how much we're going to make for inspections. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And separate from that, there is a number that comes in as revenue. Is that correct? We budget for
Yes.
100, okay. So if we budget and tax and put in the operating budget a figure, let's say $100,000, but we only get 50,000 back, what happens to the extra money that we have put into the operating budget? Does it go into the general fund to be spent on anything?
Not Paul, you're saying if we put in $100,000 as revenue and we only receive 50,000?
You put in for inspections. What's the number? I can't really see it. 100.
I think what he's trying to say is what happens if we put in a number based on how many inspections we're going to get, and then there's a shortfall in those inspections?
On the revenue side or on the expenditure side?
On the revenue side. We budget for 150,000 and we only get 125,000 in. What happens to the other 25,000?
Well, if there's a shortfall in revenue, then that shortfall in revenue is absorbed into the general fund as well. There'd be that much less revenue, but we don't, the estimated revenues are done very late in the year so that we have a good solid number when the tax rate is set.
So is it safe to say that the inspections department should always be funded by the inspections? It's a self-funding budget, is that fair to say?
I would say the majority of it, yes.
Will there ever be a time, like, let's say we have no new inspections happening, but we've budgeted for 145,000 for the next year? What happens in that case?
Right.
Then it's funded by the taxpayers
Okay,
through the property tax rate.
okay.
And I also want to make a point that building inspections isn't about just inspections. It's also a matter of public safety, because if you don't have your electrical done right or your plumbing right or whatever, you might have fires and people getting, burned in their homes and things. So if inspections aren't done right, it becomes a public safety issue. So
I
it's
think it
not,
has
so it
anything
is
to
a
do with us,
public,
Jim.
it's a public safety, just like having a fire department and a police department.
I think-
That if you don't have that inspection
Doesn't have anything
department,
to do with the budget.
well,
I just wanted to know if it was a self-funding budget, and the finance director said the majority of
Majority,
it
yes.
is. So that answers that
I
question.
think part of that answer is that not all of what the building inspector does is funded. There's code enforcement as
Right.
well, which there's no income for.
Right. But we got the,
Can I make a follow-up comment?
yep,
So we look at revenues as a town-wide revenue. We look at individual, but we come up with an estimate for all of our revenues. So we can't be spot on any one department, but we do look back historically. And what Greg and I do is we do it independent of each other, and then we come together and we compare notes. And because there's so many variables, how many people are going to buy new cars? How many people are going to register cars?
You know, how many building permits are there gonna be? You know, there's so many variables. And one, at the beginning of the COVID, everybody thought, oh boy, we're in trouble because of revenues. Well, people went out and bought new cars during the COVID. So the opposite happened. So we always pay close attention to revenues. Greg checks on them, I check on them, and it's a holistic approach. So you can have one revenue that you're trying to estimate go down, and another one you estimated goes up. But I can tell you that we always take a conservative approach when we come out with our estimate numbers, because the last thing we want to do is overestimate any revenues. And, you know, Greg, do you want to speak on our strategy on revenues and how we do it?
I don't have anything else to add than what you already did. I think that's hits the nail on the head.
Well, I think that 145K number you gave us as far as revenues justifies this budget. When I heard 100,000, I was a bit concerned, because that seemed like a shortfall, but.
So do we want to,
Do we want to amend it, or?
I'll
Did you make
amend the motion that's on the floor to 136,881.
And who was the second on that?
It was.
Okay.
And I'll amend
Okay.
my second.
All those in favor of approving the building inspection budget for 136,881, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Opposed?
So 8-1 is Peter, 8-1-0. Okay, the next one is for
Emergency
emergency
management.
management, and that was level funded at $17,600.
I'll make a motion that we approve the emergency management budget at $17,600.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Pam seconded. Discussion? It's the same as last year, so. All right, all those in favor of approving the emergency management budget of $17,600, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? 900. The next one is highway, and I justified this change based off of the paving that was added at deliberative was $30,000, and we actually didn't even end up doing it, so did we need to add the extra $30,000 last year? That was my reasoning, and we are encumbering funds to pave next year, and I'm wondering if we could even deduct those funds from this budget as well.
Theoretically.
So that's where I got that number. There needs to be a motion to discuss it, so.
Does anyone have the number of what was encumbered for this year for the lack in paving? I had it in front of me. and I-
45,000.
Thank you.
Were you thinking of making a motion with that deducted also?
I was considering.
That number would be. That would be 763,496.
Say that number again, please.
763,496 is the 45,000 encumbered funds minus the number the 808,496.
Gotta find the budget.
It's in the encumbrance package. Do you have
No,
that?
that's all right. I'm gonna try to find it.
Okay. So you made the motion, is there a second?
No,
Didn't you make the motion of that number
no.
with the 45? No? Oh, okay. So do we want to make a motion off the 808,496 number? Just to have a discussion?
I'll motion it.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Darrell seconded. Okay, discussion. So you're looking for
So what number are we at right now? 808?
496.
496.
But taking the 45 out would change it to the 760,
496.
496.
But that's not the motion on the floor.
No.
Right.
That's
No.
just another number.
That's just a question.
Yeah, I just don't understand why we had to add 30,000 to paving at deliberative after we worked on that highway budget. And then for that not to be done, and then also another 45,000 to be encumbered this year. I feel like we're overspending.
No, 33 is part of the 45.
So,
3 that was added at deliberative last year didn't get used,
right,
plus,
plus.
yeah. So it comes to 45 total, correct?
No,
But
we're
We're talking about 808 right now, though.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what should we deduct from that? The 45 or 15?
Or is there a motion to reduce that more?
Just the
Okay,
808,
Just the 808.
yeah.
The 808 is
Julian,
right now.
what was the board's reasoning for the 842?
$842 is based upon all the individual line items. As far as the highway pavement management,
Yeah,
there are still roads that didn't get, like, for instance, some of it didn't get done because of COVID this year. So that was the reason for the encumberment. Basically, if you did reduce this to this amount, and you're taking off the 45,000, what you're doing is you're basically gonna end up reducing the highway pavement management. So you're
Well, that
probably
money
going to see a
supposedly is in-
reduction in the quality of the roads over time. So it's
but
kind of
that
a.
money's encumbered.
That money's being
Because that money
encumbered.
hadn't gotten, some of the road work didn't get completed this year.
Right, but wouldn't that money be encumbered for next year?
Well, if you either encumber it, but you may have to give it, I don't know if that's Greg, but since that's highway grant money, it may have to get, if you don't encumber it, it may have to be returned. Maybe Greg could answer that.
I mean, we encumbered the money out of the paving budget because of COVID and unable to schedule the vendor to come in to finish what we had started. So they only had so many days and we utilized all those days before the weather turned. I mean, if we'll encumber the 45 and, if it goes in with the 191 for next year, then, the highway department will plan accordingly and plan on utilizing all of it next year to pave.
Do you have a number for what we're getting for the highway grant this year,
For 2021,
for 2021?
161,000 and something.
Because last year, I remember we were going to cut a certain line, and then we were told, oh, there's revenue coming in to offset that, so you have to have the line to show that,
Right, the line can't be less than,
what it is, but it could be level funded. That's what we did last year, I believe, and then they added 30,000 back at deliberative.
Right.
Yeah, Pete?
We have a line item on this budget here for emergency tree removal, $4,000. That seems to be an unanticipated line item that could be covered under the contingency fund. Why do we have an emergency tree removal line item then?
Well,
Yeah.
I would say tree falling is expected, even though you don't know when it's going to happen. So I can't know if that could be a contingency fund. It's not an unanticipated thing. We anticipate you're going to have tree fallings. It happens, it's nature. So it's something you don't think that particular tree is going to fall down? Yes, it's unanticipated. But is it
unanticipated.
It sounds like it's just like a snowstorm. It's not unanticipated. You know you may have one, so you plan for it. So I understand your point that you could say it's unanticipated, but I don't think by definition it's really unanticipated because you're planning for those kinds of events because they're common.
Bob?
I'd like to get back to the paving issue.
Wait, what about the trees?
Let's get,
I'd like to get back to the paving issue, please. It seems that this next year is going to be the big year for digging up the streets for the water project. And putting extra money in paving doesn't seem to make much sense to me. So I think this is an area, considering COVID, I don't think COVID is going to be ending anytime soon. It's ravishing now more than it has in the past, and we've been into this now for, what, 9, 10 months? So I think this is one area that we can cut back a little bit, and I think we should go ahead with your original estimate.
808.
808. Do we have that, do you have that number about the highway block grant? Do you have the exact number?
Laurie just gave it.
She said 161, but I don't know if it's
That's what I read. but-
161 even?
That's what I recall.
No, 161 something, I don't remember what it was after that. It's on NHDOT website.
So that, I mean, it ends up being, I think that's what I might have done for the, to factor it in, because if you subtract 191 from 162, you get that $33,669 reduction, so that's that 808
Isn't
number.
it paid quarterly? We don't get all of it next year.
I don't know how it's paid.
Pardon me?
It's paid quarterly? I don't know.
Greg, is the highway block fund paid quarterly?
Yes, it is paid quarterly. But you can't necessarily go by the New Hampshire DOT website either, because the state is on a July to June fiscal year, and the town is obviously on a calendar year.
Okay, so we should.
For 2020 revenue, we're at $155,600.
So we can call, if we're done with the discussion, we can call to vote
Yeah,
for the 808 number.
Let's call the 808 number.
Okay.
Yep.
All those in favor of the highway budget, approving the highway budget for 808, 496, say aye.
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 Opposed?
no,
Okay, so 810. The next one is street lighting, and we did go over that. Last week, we discussed it quite a bit, so that number is increased, but eventually it will even out. There's something going on with the billing, so I guess we have to keep that number at 117.5.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the street lighting budget at 117.5.
Is there a second?
I'll
second it.
Okay. Discussion? Yeah, I don't remember the exact words, but I think it was explained to us that there was something wrong with the Unitil billing that caused that increase.
I remember that too.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the street lighting budget for $117,500, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 900. The next one is solid waste collection, and I know you guys had opened the RFPs, but you didn't discuss them. Can you share the number with us?
I can,
or-
it's public information.
Okay.
We've opened them. I can share you some of the number, even though we haven't voted on anything. So putting some of the information together and looking at it, we've had 2 bids, Casella and Waste Management. Each contract has about, over each year, they have a 4% increase over 5 years. If I just look at without going to year, if I take all 5 years and put them together without spending 15 minutes putting numbers, the total for 5 years with, let's see, in each, it starts at 338,000 and ends at 395. It's 1,830,717 for Casella. And again, everything's not equal because there's a lot of factors in their contracts. That's what it would cost you over a 5-year period for the base rate of trash only.
Do you have it broken down for budgeting purposes of what?
Yes, I do. I
Okay,
just want to explain something.
yeah,
But waste management, if you took the 5 years and added it all up together, it's $2,400,000, which is a lot more. So you can see which way this is leaning right now. Now, there are a lot of other factors. They also may calculate things like overages at a different rate
Yeah.
per ton. And if you go back, we looked at the last year's trash. We had like 3,200 tons of trash, regular trash, and 742 of tons of recycle, which adds up to about 39,042 total weight. Unfortunately, the recycle rate was a low 17%. Most other towns hitting the 40s. So we've tried things to do, and it just wasn't successful. Matter of fact, you were chair of the committee for a while, and unfortunately, people just didn't take it, maybe didn't take it seriously and didn't listen and whatever. But anyway, so that ends up about 3942. The contracts are contracted for 4,200 tons without any increase in costs. They were
Okay.
kind of equivalent there. So as long as we stay under that amount, there's no extra overages.
yep,
One of the unfortunate, well, it's not unfortunate, but the things you have to deal with is this contract, the current contract, goes until June. So we're still paying the current rate till June, and any new contract wouldn't start till that contract is up. So if you calculate what we have to pay on the current contract versus what we would have to pay, for example, if we went with Casella, it comes out to, like, we got to pay JRM $415,000, and we ended up paying Casella, it says 169 and 176 during these numbers came up. I guess these are all estimates.
yep,
And we included the bulk pickup, which is about 7,000. And then we're also going to have dumpsters for pickup. We wanted to drop off recyclables or whatever, so we're trying to
So
work on that. So
this
we've already,
includes recycling dumpsters around
we're
town?
working on recycling dumpsters, right?
Okay,
And that comes up to a total of about, it would be for this year's budget, because it's half of a contract and
Right,
half of a
I
contract,
understand.
just to give us a ballpark so we know where to work from,
yep,
it comes up to 768,954. That may not be exact. It's basically on what we got out of all this stuff here.
yeah, but it's still less than 771.
Yeah, but
Right.
you're saying it's only 6 months.
No, he's adding
That's for the budgeting
both
for
of
the
them
year.
split.
Oh, okay.
If you had to make a new budget right now and you were using these numbers,
Yeah.
that's what we would probably be suggesting for a budget, which might be what the number we come up with on our first meeting, when we come back and discuss the contract.
Yeah,
What was
Greg?
the amount that you said? I'm sorry.
All right, it would be $768,954 is the estimate on what it might be, and it could be wrong. If we
Greg?
went with Waste Management, just another guesstimate, it was up in the vicinity of 829.
Yep, Greg,
So-
do you have numbers?
Well, no, I do not have numbers, but I also want to make the rest of the committee aware, at one of the last selectmen's meetings, they voted to add $18,437 for 6 months of a lease agreement for the carts.
Okay.
So
Does that include
it's
that?
not 771, they have approved 789,437.
Right, so continuing on along that discussion, we have decided last meeting that we were going to purchase carts. And if we go into these proposals, it's somewhere over $50,000 something per year if we use their carts. So buying the carts looks like a really good deal. We own the carts. So that's what we went to. We went through the process last week of purchasing. We got a good deal on it and an option to buy more if we need them. And they will be RFID chips so they know what unit they belong to, and also they will be labeled with the town's logo and all that stuff that's become property of the town. And so it does come out better to purchase them instead of use theirs. If you look at both contracts, it was somewhere in the vicinity of $50,000, plus or minus $50,000 to $60,000 on each of the contracts if you
year.
use their trash barrels.
Per year,
Per
Per
year?
year.
per year.
Yeah, so, and of course, looking through the stuff, there's a lot of details. I guess we'll have a big discussion on the next meeting when everyone else has read it. And of course, I had some help. This wasn't just me. A lot of this work was done by Francine. Whittling through the numbers, Did some whittling through at home, looking through the numbers, verifying it. Had some on-phone discussions saying, how do these numbers work out? How do we do this? The most complicated part was trying to figure out what do you do with a 6 months here and 6 months there. So probably around 769,000, I would say, just around the 770 would be the solid waste budget as the best case right now. I would anticipate we wouldn't go with the higher contract. I mean, there was some pluses. One company actually uses low-pressure gas for their vehicles, which make no noise, which is kind of good if the trucks don't make noise, come out in the morning, but their contract is also significantly more.
Now,
So,
does that 770, Greg just said, does that include the purchase of the barrels?
no, the barrels are separate. We voted that, this does not include our purchase of the barrels.
Now,
But I believe it's on this budget.
it's,
It's lease of carts.
yeah, I just wanted to
Yeah.
know if that 770 included it.
Because
My
I don't
other
know, I don't think Greg has made anything up yet.
But I think, didn't Greg
No,
say
we
the
got
seven-
one last week. It's 789,437 was what,
That's including the purchase of the car,
right,
correct? Yeah.
yeah.
But I don't think that's not based upon
The new proposal?
the new proposals. Is that, Greg? That was from the old proposals, right?
Yeah, it must be.
Yeah, that was the line item, as I stated, that got added for the 6 months of lease based on, and we had the 750 for the, removal.
Okay, but these numbers aren't with the new RFPs, or these for the new,
No.
yeah, these are,
they're not.
these are new RFPs, so the numbers change.
Dennis?
Well, we have what we can vote on here.
Dennis?
Yeah.
So let me ask this question. Do we think, so you guys are meeting Monday night to discuss this,
Well, not
correct,
this
Julian?
Monday.
No,
Nope, it was canceled.
Not
That meeting was canceled.
Not this coming
Not till
Monday?
the
First
11th.
meeting in next month.
Oh, okay. All right, then there goes my idea. Okay.
But we did do this, this is public document, I don't have an electronic copy of it, but anyone's willing, if you want to read it, I'm willing to share it.
Now,
Because
if
it's
you
public
go,
information.
if you go down to Home Depot and buy one of those big giant barrels that can be used for cart, they sell them at Home Depot for like $100 or something like that. Can that be used also if you wanted more than one barrel and you bought your own?
No, because the contract says they will pick up the one barrel. It's a
Okay.
96-gallon barrel, by the way.
That's what I wanted to know.
The contract's paid the bigger barrel.
The one Home Depot's that heavy duty either.
No. Yeah.
I think it's
And they
still-
also won't be RFID chipped or whatever, so they can't tell what unit they're coming from or what home
I
they
just want to
belong
know what would
right?
happen if people put two barrels out. They wouldn't
The only
take
ones
one.
that, right now, the only ones that would be picked up are the official Plaistow
Okay.
barrels. They'll be labeled, et cetera, the property of Plaistow, New Hampshire, et cetera.
Yep, Pete.
Julian, has there been any effort to buy bags, if you got extra trash, to buy a bag at town hall and put it out there? with your
We
trash?
talked about that for track, but the best option before I resigned was we wanted to go with the cart program.
Yeah, that was the something as you buy as you whatever program that some towns have. We don't have that,
No.
no.
Yeah, this,
Does that, Casella also include access to their dump in Raymond? I know other towns that use
Yes,
Casella.
we're gonna have access to do their collection site.
So you could bring your own stuff
Yes.
there?
That's also it's in here. They'll
Okay.
come up more on Monday. So yes, we're looking at possibly having a recycled dumpster in town where people can drop off at this point
Yep.
until we get some more, because we did put an RFP out for recycle companies, for people who want to recycle.
Right.
But
Bob?
I would say that Jillian's got some pretty solid figures there,
Mm-hmm.
and considering the fact that the Board of Selectmen's not meeting until next year, I think we should vote on this figure that Jillian's
The
giving us.
770?
Yes.
yeah.
and of course, it can change, but
Right.
it's a pretty good ballpark.
It was 770?
Yes,
Yeah,
he rounded up, it
770.
was 768. He
Okay.
rounded up to
Or if we
770.
if we went with Waste Management, it'd be somewhere like 829, but I don't think we'd go there. But yeah, it'd be, at least you have a ballpark to start with.
yeah.
Realize it might change.
Do we,
I'll make a motion that we approve the solid waste collection budget for $770,000.
Second,
okay. Oh, Greg has his hand up.
okay.
Well, let's,
I believe what Mr. Kishka is saying is the 770 is the solid waste collection. That does not include household hazardous waste of 21,000, nor does it include $18,000 for the cart lease.
That's true.
Okay,
Okay.
All right.
so what, can we, I amend
So
that?
I would take the 789, 437 and add 20,000 to that and make it 809, 437.
What is the 20,000 for?
The
21,000
Well-
is the hazardous waste.
Hazardous waste.
Which we
Well-
get paid back some, correct?
We get $21,000 is the household hazardous waste budget and 18,437 is the lease for the carts. So within that 789, 437 on that new sheet includes 750,000 for solid waste collection, which is what Mr. Kiska is saying, you guys rounded up to 770. So that's an additional 20,000 on top of the 789, which would be 809, 437.
Yep, that makes more sense.
So is that to say that, switching over to Casella is going to cost us more money?
Yep.
Now we have a $770,000 contract instead of a $750,000 contract?
Yep.
And no
You also got to
recycling.
remember, those are old rates. All the new rates being published right now for bids are all higher.
They're just not,
We
they're not
can't,
going
we
down.
can't base it on that because those are based on old contracts when the price, when they did get money for their recycles and all that, which now they don't. So the
I
costs
did
have
look up,
increased.
I
Yeah.
did look up Atkinson's contract
Yeah.
with Casella, and they signed in 2018, so that was only 2 years ago, and recycling was an issue back then. And they had, I believe the paperwork we got last week,
Yeah.
they have 2,000 more people that they were picking up for, and their contract was for like 536,000.
Yeah, well, it was a couple years ago, so.
Darrell?
I'll make a motion then,
Okay.
but
I think, did I make a motion?
You
and
did.
somebody-
I'll make an amendment to your motion
There you go.
to approve $809,437.
9.
I'll second that.
Do we need to discuss it more?
Yes.
Yes.
There was, according to Greg, he had mentioned, Greg, you mentioned the rental of the carts. I thought we were talking purchase of the carts.
I think that's what he meant. It's purchasing
It-
outright.
we
That's
actually-
what he
we're
meant,
actually
okay.
purchasing.
It's rent
Okay.
to buy.
That, just for clarification, thank you.
Any other discussion? Pete?
And we actually purchased more than units, so we have some for expansion.
Okay.
Julian, just let me get this straight also. We are paying a tipping fee from July 1st on, that includes not only waste, but recycling. So what we have been doing right now is we've had a tipping fee for the waste and no tipping, and recycling was gone.
So the new contract,
They combined, and we're paying for all of that.
no, the tipping fee is only when you exceed 4,200 tons.
But
What happens is, right now, our current trash is 3,200 tons, and recycle was 742 tons. If you add them together, it's 3,942.
Add them together.
So we actually we won't get it, unless someone comes up with a lot more increase in trash, we shouldn't have to worry about the tipping fee. If we do,
We're gonna have one barrel for everything,
yes,
a 96-gallon barrel for trash and recycles.
yes, and then we'll work on a plan, if you really need more barrels, how we're gonna implement that.
All right.
But it'll probably be at some cost or something, because we'll have to get more barrels, and of course, that'll have to be figured out down the road.
I mean, we only can deal with what we got right now.
Right.
Yep. Space in a barrel, well, on recycle, you didn't crush your cans, you didn't things because they wouldn't accept it, but if you're not gonna recycle it, you're gonna take a can and you're gonna crush it. So the more will fit. I mean, I understand it's a change in the way you do things, but hopefully we'll have a recycling option for people who recycle like myself.
Sounds like you did budget, there, in that proposal, there is money for a recycling dump, centrally located recycling dumps this summer.
Yeah, but it won't be picked up at your home.
No,
Right,
but you'll
but you
still
bring
have
it.
the option.
We know people want to recycle, I'm gonna recycle.
Yeah.
When there's an option to do it, that's what I'm gonna do, because I will not put it in the regular trash. That's just me.
Yeah, Dennis?
I'm just always surprised by that 17% number. I mean,
Yeah.
I go around town, it looks to me like a lot more people recycle
Well,
than that 17%.
being on track, I will tell you, we got that number from the people picking it up. So whether
Yeah.
or not they want to tell us where, because they
Yeah.
weren't making money off the recycling.
Right, and
So
it's,
consider the source.
right,
Yeah.
and how do you figure that?
And
you
you also, a
know?
lot of the trash, a lot of the units and a lot of the homes are in condominiums and apartments
True.
complexes. There are one or two that do recycling bins, most of them don't. And that's a lot of units.
Yeah, that's a
When you drive around, you're mostly driving around the residential
Exactly, yeah, you
people.
make a
And I think
good
our,
point.
us residents that have homes, we usually recycle.
Mm-hmm.
They're not given that option to the apartments and dwellers that, there are a lot of units.
I think we tried on track to
They've
contact
tried,
them,
and only
but-
one condominiums actually responded, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a shame. It's,
At least now with that option of the centrally located dumpster, it'll give those people in the private condominium complexes a place they can recycle if they want.
Yep,
you know, and maybe it's a wake-up call. Maybe things will change and people will have a different attitude, and we're not locked in to like never recycle forever. If things change and people get a better attitude and they want to do it, I'm all for it. I mean, but right now, makes no financial sense to do the recycling and pay the large amount of extra money, which was quite a bit, for people who aren't really using it on the most part. Yeah, I know I'm big on recycling. I know Francine's big on, I know Jay is definitely big on recycling. And
We'll
it's
take
not,
a-
it was not an easy decision.
We'll take a vote on this new 809-437 number. All those in favor of approving the trash collection, waste collection for 809-437, say aye.
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 Opposed? So two,
I'm abstaining.
abstain, so one, was I, me and Bob opposed and
I abstain.
abstain.
I just can't wrap my head around 809.
Yeah, I'm with
Yeah.
her.
Are you
It's a
abstaining?
lot.
Are you-
I'm opposing.
Oh, okay, so it was 3 and 1, right? Did you,
I went in the affirmative.
okay, affirmative,
Permanent.
affirmative, opposed, 1, 2,
Opposed.
3. Abstain,
I abstain.
so it's 3, 4, 1? Is that right? No,
Do it again.
Gotta
I'm
do it
sorry,
again.
I couldn't follow, so.
Do
all
it
those in-
again.
Two hands, favor.
Two, approve, no.
Approve.
Approve.
Approve, 4,
Okay,
okay,
4.
I was
You have
missing
4.
Yeah,
Julian.
me too.
Yeah,
You have 4 approved.
yeah, okay. I was missing Julian, so. It's 4,
4, 4, 1.
4, 4, 1.
The Board of Selectmen hasn't voted on it, but I'm pretty sure we're going to go along with these numbers. So,
Okay. So does the motion
Fails.
fail?
Fails because it's a tie.
I mean, I don't, since it failed, I don't know what,
Well, someone could make a motion for another number.
I mean, I'll make a motion for the 789-437 number, and if we end up having to pay more at the end of the year, then we can take it out of the surplus.
I think that's a fair estimate, seeing as this is uncharted.
I mean-
The number that's coming up is just a guess anyway.
That's
isn't it?
all it
Right.
is.
Isn't it, Julie?
it's an estimate until we make the decisions and sign contracts. It's,
I'd just like to make a comment that it sounds like if we were to hire any waste company to do this, including recycling, we'd be talking $1 million budget for, this would have to grow to $1 million. Is that correct? Is that what I'm reading?
I'll base it on the bids we got previously. There was probably a difference of about $150,000, $170,000 difference to add recycling. And then we threw those bids out and says, sent it out to rebid again. And we got some better numbers without the recycling, but they originally gave us recycling without recycling. The recycling was way higher. So that's where the decision came to, like, we can't afford to do the recycling unless the people really want to pay that much more in taxes.
So my new motion is for the 789-437.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Based on what?
I am having a hard time accepting that number, 809,000, and we don't know the exact what we're going to be paying anyway, so it's just an estimate, and I'm hoping for the best.
If we go by the numbers that are in these bids, that's probably pretty closely right on. But I'm just saying, I'm not gonna guarantee it, we didn't vote on it yet. And then, and because only one person or two went through the numbers, we need to make sure it's verified properly by the finance director and everything, that the numbers are absolutely correct by the contract. So,
I think what throws it out of kilter too, because we're not talking that big a difference between your number and what we made a motion on, is that if we're including barrels, then that's something that has to be in there. I don't like the number any more than anybody else. I used to take my trash to the dump. So, but it's, I think you have to take a real shot at it, you know?
Another thing that I'm struggling with is the fact that when this went out to bid the first time, there was 4 or 5 companies that bid to pick up our trash, and now there's 2? I mean,
I was on the track committee for 2 years, and I did a lot of research, and like I said, like, I know he's saying that contracts go up every year, but I find it very hard to believe that Atkinson, our neighbor, who has more houses to pick up, has a lower contract for trash and recycling. They have 2 carts, one for trash, one for recycling, they're both the big ones.
And that's only maybe a 2-year-old contract? if
It's a
that?
2-year-old contract, and they're paying $600,000.
another factor could also be that because we went through the process the first time, and the other ones that were higher, they didn't want to come any lower, so they just didn't bother bidding the
I
second
mean,
time.
did
They already knew
anybody-
they were undercut, so.
Did you
that-
try to like reason with Casella and say, hey, our neighbors who you service are paying less and you're getting more, so I would just make that.
Well, that's something that can still be talked about. But usually doesn't work that way, but you might get some small changes, but I can't anticipate any big
Yeah.
changes.
Well,
So you've got a motion on the floor, a second.
yeah, I made the amendment, the 789. Is there a second?
Yeah, I
Oh,
seconded
you
it.
seconded it? Okay, so we can vote on the new motion, the 789, 437. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
That was 789? I will abstain from that.
Okay, so
You
One.
get 2 opposed
2 opposed, it was,
and 1 abstain.
and 1 abstain. Okay, that carries at 789,
437, correct?
437, yep.
89.
The next one is solid waste disposal, and that went down from last year to 46.5.
I'll make a motion, we approve 46.5.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion? No discussion? Okay. All those in favor of approving the solid waste disposal budget of $46,500, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. We made really good progress. I don't know what people's thoughts are in continuing with the rest of the budgets or saving them for next week. We still have warrant articles to vote on too, but we can meet before the public hearing to do those. Just getting a consensus, yeah.
I vote to finish up the budget.
Yeah, let's finish up the
Yeah.
budgets
Yeah,
and
we can
then
do the warrant
probably
articles next
table the
Okay.
warrant articles.
I just
for
wanted to
next
see
week.
how everybody was feeling.
Yeah.
Hungry?
Okay. Thirsty. The next budget is the health budget, and that was an increase of $2,238 from last year. And if you look at the November actuals, which we had, they're only at 75%, so I justified using last year's number for that. Yep, Greg, do you have the new number?
Well, the increase is the contractual obligation. If you look at the budget line item by line item, it is level funded except for the salary. The salary is a contractual obligation under the collective bargaining agreement to be paid to the individual. The reason why this year's is under, you will see a line item of part of the salary was reimbursed from Gopher money. So that's why it is under. But the increase, the only increase in that budget is a contractual obligation under the CBA.
So my question is about the Gopher, using Gopher money to supplement a salary position that we would normally have. What is the reasoning for that?
Because they allowed it, to get up to the maximum allocation of each town. So
Okay.
we allocated a portion to the police, a portion to the fire, and a portion to the health department, which were, the three departments. I mean, the health department was probably the most impacted,
Yeah.
out of all three. So I did an analysis of the salaries across all three departments. And when we did the final request to get up to the maximum allocation, we took a little bit of the salary from all three.
So if COVID wasn't a thing, they'd still be getting paid the same amount?
That's correct. Yep. And right now, there is no Gopher money for next year. So
Okay.
So where did the remainder go that the Gopher paid for, that we budgeted for?
I took out, I'm not following you, Sam.
We had budgeted for without the Gopher money. You took the Gopher money in and supplemented the salary with the Gopher money, yet we had already budgeted for it, so you should have had extra that we had budgeted for it? Does that make sense?
Right, that's part of the bottom line surplus that we have, that 200 to 300,000.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll make a motion that we accept the health budget at $88,617.
He said accept.
Approved.
Approve. I
Is there a
can't help
second?
it.
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in discussion, we kind of already had our discussion. Any more discussion? No? All right, all those in favor of approving the health budget for $88,617, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 900. The next one is human services, and that went up $227. And here it's 94.18% utilized, so I mean, I justified that, but it is only $227, so, doesn't matter to me either
Yeah,
way.
I'll make a motion that we accept the Human Service Department budget at $41,950.
Second.
Okay. Discussion? No. All right, all those in favor of approving the human services budget for $41,950, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So 900. The next one is welfare, and that actually decreased. It's $32,350. Is there a motion to approve that?
Motion made.
Okay.
Second.
Bob seconded. Discussion? All right. All those in favor of approving the welfare budget for $32,350, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstained, that motion carries 900. The next one is recreation, and my justification for this number was we added 24,000 at deliberative to do the drainage, and we shouldn't have to have that in this year's budget if we did it last year, so I decreased 24,000 from it to get the 179,313 from last year's budget.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
Sam, seconded. Discussion?
What's the number again?
The number for this is 179,313.
Yeah, still trying to read the small print,
I know, I couldn't figure out how to print it out bigger.
right? Bring a magnifying glass.
Is there a discussion on that? Does anyone have any?
Basically, that would level fund it from this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
So all those in favor of approving the recreation budget for 179,313, say aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
Opposed?
Okay, so,
Was there two?
yeah, I think Dennis,
Yep, 2.
so Dennis and Julian were opposed. Patriotic purposes, it pretty much level funded at $600. So if someone wants to make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the.
Approve it.
Approve the patriotic purposes budget for $600.
Second.
Okay, discussion? All those in favor of approving the patriotic purpose budget for $600, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Which one?
That was patriotic,
Yes, patriotic purposes.
600.
And that was the
I'm
same
looking at the
number,
wrong one.
Julian.
600. Did we,
Did you vote, Julie?
yeah, it's the same that the BOS approved,
It's the same as
$600.
the- yeah, BOS.
I think,
I
aren't
think
they on the
patriotic
same?
cultural.
That's,
The BOS approved a $100 increase, so it went from 500 to
Yeah.
600.
Yeah, but what about the CL events and our activities part? We're looking at the same spreadsheet.
We're looking at we just approved the cultural.
Cultural,
I mean,
the
patriotic
patriotic
purposes.
purposes.
Are they both on the same budget sheet? That might be where
They
you're
are,
getting.
that's
Yes.
why.
Same budget.
They're
Yeah.
both on the same budget
So we approved the
sheet.
600 for patriotic.
Okay, I'll agree with
Yeah,
that.
it's all on one budget sheet.
Those
that
throw-ins.
does.
So you're affirmative?
I'm affirmative on that line item, yes.
Yeah, and then the next one was for cultural, and that's the 22,500.
I'll make a
So those
motion.
together create the 23,100, but I
Make a
said,
motion, we accept, that we approve the 22,500.
Second.
second. Discussion? Yeah, Paul?
Are we going to have Old Home Day?
Who knows?
Nobody knows.
I
$1
mean,
million.
at this point, there's so much effort that goes into planning. And
I mean, at best,
If
it's
nothing's
saying
been
that
done
it
at
may
this
be-
point.
It
I'm
may
sorry.
be June or July before we're all inoculated at best,
correct.
you know?
I mean, the likelihood of having Old Home Day this next year is,
Well, if
I
there,
think,
You don't budget it,
unlikely.
you won't be able to.
if there's a way to, I know I had brought it up and we said we couldn't do that, but I think there is a way to put money into the trust fund that was created for Old Home Day, so that money just sits in there until it's ready to be used.
Is that where this year's
Good.
went?
No,
No.
it's not in there, but isn't that why we have the
Well,
trust fund
you
created?
can't take that money, in my understanding, that's budgeted and stick it into another
No,
account.
but could we ask
If
the
someone
board-
donated money or there was some revenues from flyers and things like that, that would go into that account.
But
But
could
money
we-
from the budget can't go in that account.
Unless we create a warrant article for the people to
Well,
say,
yeah, if you had such a warrant article, yes, but
is that
why
not?
do it? I mean, this year, we didn't have Old Home Day, so it just didn't get spent.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, to keep it protected for the following years, would it be possible to do a warrant article?
Why would you protect it if you're gonna
Because
budget
it goes
every
back,
year
if
anyway?
it's not spent, it goes back into the general fund to be used anywhere.
But hopefully this will be, I mean,
I just can't imagine us having Old Home Day this year.
yeah, I.
You can't imagine not having it
I can't imagine it happening.
happening. I don't either.
But I think
I
we're
don't
gonna
either.
budget for
I
it.
think they canceled this year like in April. I think they canceled at least a few months in advance.
Right.
That takes a while to,
Yeah, it got to the point where there was no public gatherings allowed and whatever, so at that point, we had to cancel it.
No,
We
I
don't know what the rules are gonna be come
Right.
this June.
I understand that, I'm just thinking if there was a warrant article, I'm sure the people would be more than happy to put this money into the Old Home Day fund that was created. Why did, I mean, we created it for a reason.
But we have to deal with what we have here in this budget.
Right.
And
Right.
I hate not having it because, I mean, I've been to every one since the first. And it's just, but I just can't justify in my own mind having the money there for something that, would be a long shot at best.
Correct.
So, yeah, go.
I'm sorry, I have a question for the finance director. Greg, is there some way to get either this year's money or next year's money into that fund so it can be put aside for that purpose,
A warrant article.
other than a warrant
A
article?
warrant,
No,
no, needs to be a warrant article.
okay.
In order to put money into a trust fund, it needs to be some specific with a vote to do that.
So are we making, yeah,
Could, is it possible to ask Julian to bring that before the board to use this current year's money that's left over, surplus in the budget, to, well, at least make a warrant article and make it available?
Well, I'm thinking, yeah,
I mean, we have funds here.
if you could
This
do just
year's,
like you just
last
said,
year's.
if Julian can go to the board,
we haven't approved the warrant we haven't voted on the warrant articles yet, so,
right. So if they can draft one up to take this amount of money and put it into that fund,
take it out of the budget.
out of the current running year's budget with a surplus we have now, put it in there, and then we can eliminate, or put this to $1 or something, just to keep the line.
I'm gonna make a motion to amend this to $1.
Okay.
I'll second that.
We don't need to withdraw,
Well, he
I'm just
amended
making a
it.
motion
amended it,
against
okay.
what
Motion
was
to
there.
amend.
motion to
Amend.
amend, okay. So you second discussion? I mean,
Julian, will you be able to take this to the Board of Selectmen?
I'll bring it to the Board of Selectmen. I just don't see the common sense in it, reality.
Well, it's taking the money that's already in the bank right now, putting it in a pocket that's gonna be used for Old Home Day if it comes.
whenever it comes.
Well, yeah, even if it doesn't come this year, then we don't have to budget for it this year either, you can have it the year after.
Right.
It'll just
Then
be
you'd have
sitting.
to, by that process, you're intending to do a warrant article every single year for something that we all support to have? If
No,
we don't
it's
have
not
it, we don't
every
have
year.
it, but-
It's just, once we get through COVID,
Right.
then we can go back to putting it in the budget. But this year, I don't see logically
Yeah.
how we'll get it.
I don't understand, if you budget it and we don't spend it, it doesn't get spent. If
It
you
goes
It
into the
goes back
general
into the
fund.
general fund to be spent on
And it
other.
goes back, and it doesn't get spent, it goes back, just like this year's did, it went right back in the general fund.
Right, but
Well,
then
it
we
will
have
at the
no
end of the year,
control
but-
over that.
Right,
Correct,
if
if
it's put aside specifically for Old Home Day, that $22,500 can't be used to buy a generator, I don't know.
Anything.
Correct.
It gets put away for that purpose, not just thrown in the pot. to
I'll
be
bring it
used
up for
it.
discussion at the next Board of Selectmen meeting, and we'll see what the validity of it is, and,
In the incentive
every
of
year,
it,
we go through discussions, and we always budget for the Old Home Day Committee. I don't see anybody saying we're not gonna have Old Home Day. That's never happened.
the
But, okay,
incentive,
I'll
Did
bring
this
it
year.
forward.
It did happen.
It didn't happen this year.
Yeah, but that's only because we couldn't have it.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're being told two different things. COVID's not going away and COVID's going away. So which one is it? I mean, I don't think we're gonna have it.
I mean,
don't
again,
know.
they're saying inoculations won't even be finished until midsummer or late summer.
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Well,
Bob?
it's, the other issue is, the bands, the groups that we're getting, a little difficult to get a large group together to play and stuff like that wearing masks.
Right.
So again, we run into that, there are no concerts, there are no anything else going on. I don't foresee that coming back anytime soon. They've got until April to make this decision, and the problem is, I don't think by April you'll see bands and stuff practicing together in a small area.
Right.
Unfortunately.
I agree. So we can move to a vote if there's no
All
more.
right, so I get what you're trying to do is, you want to put it into a warrant article, to put it into an account, and that way, if other budget items somehow get overspent, it can't be drawn from this
Correct.
one as
Right.
another bank account.
Correct.
I understand your intent, all right?
The account
We'll
already
discuss it at the
exists.
Board of
And
Selectmen meeting.
and we created the account already. The account's already there.
So you're really, your intent here, but what if the warrant article doesn't go in?
then you
What are you
would,
going to do then? You going to
I
revisit this?
mean,
I mean, we do have a surplus.
yeah, in
all right.
best case scenario,
I understand what you're trying to do.
Yeah, Laura-
I do understand.
Dennis, Lori?
Go ahead, Laurie.
Well, my suggestion would be to write the warrant article for the account that's already created and to fund that account out of the unassigned fund balance.
Right,
So it would be zero taxation
Right.
right, to deposit 22.5 into that account
from the unassigned fund balance.
coming from the unassigned fund balance.
To be used by Old Home Day events if
No, it's
if
going-
It's
they
going
occur.
into a
There's-
specific
there's
account.
already-
It has to be for a specific purpose.
The account already exists, the Old
Yeah.
Home Day account.
So,
We created it last year.
right, so that,
I understand
that
that.
passed, so the warrant would be worded, so it would say to deposit $22,500 into account XYZ from the surplus, no new taxation.
Okay, that's under.
Unassigned fund
You know,
balance.
it's only on the assumption we get the votes on the Board of Selectmen, or else
Yep.
we couldn't, it wouldn't go in, so.
Okay, so we can call to a vote, so all those in favor of approving the
Well, yeah, I'm sorry, go on.
cultural budget to $1?
Yes.
Yes.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
Abstain? So 8-1-0. And the next one is the Conservation Commission, and the COS approved $6,480. That's the increase. Is there a motion on the floor?
Make that motion.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Dennis seconded. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving the Conservation Commission budget of $6,480, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? 900. And the next one is debt service, and that is 516,951.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion? No discussion? Okay. All those in favor of approving the debt service budget for $516,951, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? 900. And then the library is level funded, $599,174.
Make that motion.
Okay, Darrell made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Sam seconded. Discussion? No? Okay.
Second.
No discussion? All right, so the library budget of $599,174. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, 900. All right, that's all the budgets.
Yay.
Yay.
Good job, everybody.
Thanks. So we have the packet that was in our folder of the warrant articles. We can vote on those next week. New business, I know you wanted to talk about the legal. New business, did you want to bring up your,
New business, I brought it up before. I think that sometimes that we need legal advice, just like the planning board needs legal advice. And I would like to put a line item in the budget and fund it a small amount for this year.
Where would it go under?
Yeah,
Under
anybody
what
else,
budget?
so he wants to create a line item in the legal budget. We'd have to amend it for $500 to be spent by the budget committee to seek legal counsel on some of the questions that have arisen for us. Bob?
I think this is a question for Greg. Can that be designated for that purpose? The purpose of getting legal advice for the Budget Committee on budget matters?
I mean, legal question, my initial response technically is no, but
Well, it would relate to budget law.
I mean, I would certainly think that if you had the questions, that I don't think the board or the, town manager, not to speak for Mark, but, would oppose that.
Is it something as simple as just being able to go to the town council and ask questions, or do we have someone that know more about budgeting?
I mean, obviously, it's the municipal budgeting law, would be a specialty as well. So,
Right.
if town council couldn't answer, I would assume he would, say that he couldn't, and, then you'd need to find, somebody that is experienced with, what you're looking for. That specialty.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a bad idea, but we can revisit it. We already approved the legal budget as is, so we could revisit it, yeah.
And you cut it.
We don't have a budget per se our own.
No.
So where does all this get paid from?
You did.
Greg, do you know where all the like printouts for budget committee falls under? Like, do we have a budget to spend?
I believe
Because money too.
Yeah,
in the finance budget,
yep.
Yes. Could this be located in the finance budget? We're talking a small amount of money here, perhaps $500.
Could we add it
yeah,
to,
you could add it to the finance budget.
so instead of the budget committee expenses for 250, we could add 500 to that?
Oh, yeah, I didn't even see that. So, I'm sorry, where are we?
Does anybody want to make a motion to,
What number is the finance line, the beginning?
it's this one.
150?
Um, Would anybody like to make a motion to amend the finance budget? So the budget committee expenses is now 750 instead of 250. So
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so that would bring the new number to 182
Where?
plus 183, 325. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
And I'd like to make some clarification.
Yep.
It would have to have Budget Committee approval in order to request, and I think it would have to go through the chairman,
Yes.
Yes,
and
to enter
they would
legal.
contact whoever we line up. I mean, it has to be a specialist on New Hampshire budget law.
Right.
Just like Mark has hired somebody to take care of right to know requests.
Yeah.
The same kind of thing. So the question would probably be emailed to this lawyer or firm, and
Right.
they would come back with a judgment. And this would be done when there is disagreement, perhaps on encumbrances. We have a disagreement with the Board of Selectmen or whoever, and we challenge that, and we want a legal opinion. In my opinion, it's only going to happen once, because that will kind of set the precedent for future encumbrances of that nature.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? No. So all those in favor of approving the amended finance budget to 183,375, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstained?
Abstain.
So 7, 1, 1. That motion carries. All right, so next week we'll go over the warrant articles and any other old business, and I'll adjourn the meeting. Oh, yeah,
Can we get a,
Are we going to postpone the encumbrance discussion? or-
Yeah.
Okay, you said, I didn't hear it.
did you have a question?
just Can we get a figure on the bottom line of the budget at
Can we
some
get a
point in
new,
time with what we
I don't
did?
have that tonight.
I know you
but-
don't have it now, but
Next meeting.
hopefully
Yeah.
before,
Yeah,
for next
Email to
meeting,
us.
if we
Yep.
Yeah.
could get that.
okay, I'll adjourn the meeting at 9:16.
Not doing the warrant?
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.